Hello, this is Edward Lambert with another video about six-element theory for acupuncture, and this video is going to be another syndrome of the pericardium meridian, stagnation or constriction of the pericardium Qi. Comes from chapter 11 of my ebook, Creating Life, and as you know, five-element theory doesn't have any syndromes for the pericardium meridian, so under six-element theory, the pericardium meridian has specific syndromes because we can define the sixth element, seed, and then its meridian, sanjiao, and pericardium. So we can define their syndromes physically, emotionally, and mentally. Okay, so let's get started on stagnation or constriction of pericardium Qi. These people are closed-minded and unwilling to adapt to external factors. They close themselves off from the world. It is a coping mechanism when someone loses the ability to adjust to external factors. They back off in order to give themselves time to understand what is happening. They are unable to monitor changes in their life without getting upset. The stagnation blocks the healthy flow of qi in the body-mind. They lock themselves into a limited way of being. When the reality around them contradicts their view of how things should be, they resist and deny it. This resistance blocks the free flow and flexibility of qi. Qi stagnates internally. You can imagine that this is a fairly common syndrome. Denial in this world is a very common thing. When faced with the truth, many times the first reaction of people is simply to deny it. It doesn't fit into their view of the world. And so it's a stagnating pericardium Qi, because you really need to be able to grow into the truth of life as you live. And that's part of the purpose of life. So in many ways we have to free up the pericardium. It wants to kind of stagnate and create this nice optimal homeostasis, but when it does it in a limited way and doesn't allow in truth, that has to be freed up. The pericardium has to free up to allow in the ability to accept, or at least to wonder about, or at least to ponder a larger truth. Because on the spherical meridian flow after the pericardium meridian comes the kidney meridian. And the kidney meridian reflects that ability and that desire to wander and to meditate and to search the larger meanings of life. So the pericardium has to feed into the kidney meridian to grow. And if it stagnates and constricts and say, I don't want to grow, I don't want to know about those other things, I don't want my truth to be challenged. Well, sometimes in order to really know the truth, the pericardium has to relax a little bit, destagnate, and to allow the kidney to function so that we grow spiritually. The ways that this can manifest range from simple frustration to debilitating phobias, from fear of intimacy to hopelessness. Stagnation of Yuan Qi is so common in this world. Yuan Qi in the sense of pericardium Qi, because this world requires so much conformity from people. People need to be who they are, who they want to be, and who they are meant to be. When a person gives up a personal dream or personal love, they lose inner fulfillment. Their Yuan Qi stagnates because it isn't able to fulfill itself. So yes, the people want to be who they are, but at the same time, people have to be able to go beyond who they are and to grow spiritually. When a cultural way of life deteriorates under the pressures of globalization, people lose a sense of right and wrong. They lose a sense of contentment and belonging. They lose a sense of tradition. They lose a sense of who they are and how to live. There is a breakdown in communication between generations. Social support systems are breaking down. The current increase in frustration and depression around the world relates to constriction of pericardium Qi. So people are losing their traditions, and many people then become confused about these new traditions in the world. And they begin to resist, they begin to deny it. But there's a larger truth opening up for them. And if they can embrace it and still maintain their traditions and grow with the changes in the world, their pericardium is healthy. Yuan Qi stagnates because self-determination is not being respected nor supported. So people, when the self-determination is not being respected, There's a challenge to the pericardium. Who are you? How do you define your boundaries? There's a challenge to your pericardium. People must define the perfection of their own lives, their own culture, their own personalities. Yuan Qi guides self-determination. When people are blocked from determining their own way of life, pericardium Qi stagnates. Treatment focuses on supporting self-determination and a social identity in order to establish relevant meaning in their life. Treatment is that simple, but may also require changes in family and social relationships. So as a person feels growth happening in their life, they need support. They need to understand why this growth is happening. They need to understand what changes are happening in how they view themselves and their world and their spirituality. Everyone wants to be respected, but it is a lot easier to respect someone when you appreciate the things that they do. I have found that the pericardium channel is related to one's feeling of belonging and a feeling at home. It embodies an instinctive longing to feel connected to one's roots. Your roots could be your hometown. However, for every living being on earth, our roots were originally the peaceful power of the primordial soup. This is the larger truth, that if you really allow your pericardium Qi to open up, you'll realize that we all have roots in that original peaceful power of the primordial soup. We all share the primordial soup within each living being. So ultimately, we all have the same home. This is where the kidney meridian, once you open up that pericardium meridian and start feeding into the kidney meridian, this is where you begin to go. So ultimately, we all have the same home, which is the primordial soup within us. So why the conflicts? It's a lack of understanding the truth of who we are and what life is. As modern life gets less homeostatic, the desire to go home is getting stronger among people. Home is a place of personal power, where one is rejuvenated and nurtured. If we could all return to the original primordial soup just for a moment, we would be rejuvenated in a powerful way. Now, when we truly, and I mean truly, return to really understand and feel and embody the primordial soup within, we will feel connected to every other living being as brothers and sisters, and that includes insects, plants, fish, birds, anything that is expressing life from the primordial soup. We share a common bond, a common fluid, a common home. And that is the ultimate truth of the pericardium Qi, to allow the kidney to flourish and to open up spiritually.